CEO of the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. Hi, Albert.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We worked closely for a number of years in your previous role, actually, as portfolio director, at exhibition and trade fairs. So, I know that you've transitioned into this new role, but I really just wanted to catch up with you today and just sort of ask, as a CEO now, what has been your focus for your team and your organisation through this time?
Peter, thanks. It's probably one of the most difficult things, and I always think to myself, we're Mardi Gras, we're not-for-profit charity, and we're going through, what is, as you said, is unprecedented. And then I think back and I think, okay, how does a CEO like Alan Joyce feel? And, what's going on in his mind and his organization? And it's pretty much, I guess, very much aligned with all of us, is to, remain a sustainable organization, remain open and still, carry on operating. And that's the biggest thing for us, is to make sure that we stay on the course and that we sort of come out on the other end and make the necessary decisions to, put so many really exciting projects on hold until we realistically know, where we're going to be going from here on in. And that's always the biggest concern when you make any decision now, is this going to be relevant in 2 weeks, if not 2 months' time? Well, we've been very lucky in the fact that we could host Mardi Gras this year. And so it sort of has, this curve has sort of worked in our favor. So this would typically always be our downtime. And realistically, we'd now be able to really spend a lot of time on planning season, this next season that would be taking place. But now what we've done is we've actually battened down the hatches and sort of taken stock. And the nice thing that's really working in our favor is we can now concentrate a lot more on governance issues, reviewing policies, understanding where our shortcomings were, and also really putting a big magnifying glass on the season that was, issues that we've had. As you said, I've only been in this role 14 weeks now, so brand new. So I realistically came into the season to understand what and how the machine operates. So this has really worked in the sense that we as an organization can, reestablish our purpose. What are we here for? Do people know what we stand for? Do they know, realistically what we do the other 11 months of the year, when Mardi Gras is only realistically one of the 12 months in a cycle?
And have you, through doing all of this, identified any opportunities that you think are going to come out of what we've all been going through at the moment?
Yeah. So, of course, as everyone knows, Mardi Gras is classified as an arts festival. And so our remit is to support queer artists, be it DJs, be it in theatre, be it visual arts, be it whatever the case may be. And so we have really focused on how we're going to support this plethora of artists, not only just here in Sydney, but on a national scale. And so what we've now done is we've had to really reconnect with other community organizations that does exactly that, and realistically supporting them through these tough times. The nice thing is Mardi Gras is the biggest LGBTQ plus organization in Australia. And so we have an amazing platform that we are now using for the good of other organizations. For example, Equality Australia just ran a massive survey on the impacts of COVID and how that's impacting our community. And so everybody's thinking about just, staying at home and loss of income and, not necessarily being able to go to work. But there's a number of other issues that our community is actually facing: mental issues, violence, domestic violence, abuse of alcohol and drugs. There's so many other aspects that, you don't necessarily comes to mind, first off. And so we now have to and stay reconnected with those organizations. And we've miraculously, all of us are pulling together. Our communication's better than it ever was before. And so we can use what our assets are in terms of all of our social media platforms, etc., for the benefit of the greater good, and supporting these marginalized communities through these very, very tough times and assisting them in any way that we can.
But how are you approaching 2021 with it sort of being, as you say, like you'd be well into the planning stages, I imagine, by now, because it's such a multi-tiered, multifaceted festival. Have you got anything on the drawing board, or?
Yes. So of course, we are hoping that we will be the bookend on both ends of COVID, and so we'll probably be one of the bigger festivals coming out of this if we were to go ahead. The reality of the situation is there's so many other considerations that we really need to face. For example, the economy might be in a recession, and people might not be spending as much as they always used to on ticket prices to attend our events. So what we're realistically doing now is we're looking at three options. The first is to host Mardi Gras as it is, just in a smaller footprint, taking into consideration, as I said, the ticket prices, etc. A second is hosting Mardi Gras perhaps 3 months later, so that we might just be just outside if there were still very, very many restrictions. And the third is not hosting Mardi Gras at all, which would mean that we now need to pivot and host an online opportunity. And we've seen many festivals doing and converting their festivals to online. It's realistically just to get the viewership and the support, because of course, as you know, we have many partners and stakeholders in Mardi Gras other than just the general public who attend our events. And so realistically, we need to be able to deliver something that will give everyone the traction and return on investment. So we're actually literally planning for 3 different festivals at this point in time, which is hugely time consuming as you can imagine.
And in terms of, I guess, talking about your partners and sponsorships and things like that, have you had to approach those in a different way? Are you finding people are remaining as supportive, considering that the situation is out of your control?
Yeah. Well, I subscribe to a newsletter that comes through. It's called Pro Bono. And the reality is everybody's forecasting a 25 to 30% dip in income when it comes to any philanthropic donations and or corporates doing sponsorships, etc. So realistically, we are forecasting a major knock in income. And so yes, we're approaching our partners in the sense that we're being very transparent and open. But the great thing is everybody that we're partnered with buys into the bigger Mardi Gras picture and what we stand for and the communities we support. And that really does make a huge difference in terms of them truly believing in our cause. And yes, there's a few partners that have said, absolutely, our budgets have been decimated. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take part, potentially in 21, but we might be back in 22. And it's hard discussions to have for everyone all around, because everybody understands the value of it. Everybody gets the value from it. It's not necessarily them just supporting us blindly because they believe in the cause. There's a lot, it's a two-way, arrangement. But it's hard, and we're lucky in the sense that 70% of the discussions that we have are still very positive, and everybody still wants to be involved with us, be it at a lesser scale. But we won't be losing partners purely because of COVID. And in actual fact, we're actually seeing them stick together more. And what we're also seeing is we've had in certain segments and categories within the sponsorship realm, we've always had exclusive partners that would only take and would control that whole category. Whereas now partners are actually willing to share, and they're going, you know what, hey, this is a bigger cause. Let's stand together. And we are competitors out in the bigger world, but because we totally buy into what Mardi Gras does, the people they reach, the people they support, we would rather stand together, have the same amount of income, and also, share the exposure and supporting the overall outcome of the event.
Really, really good to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I promised it would be short and sweet. So really appreciate you spending some time with us, and I'm pleased to sort of hear that, I guess things are going well for you in the new role.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Take care.